I'm Walt Raleigh, and today I'm going to demonstrate something I built called the Revenue Signal Agent. And what this shows is how you can build your own agent with custom code to help sales and marketing teams prioritize large lists of contacts that you may have gathered over the years or have purchased from lists. What this is going to help you do is optimize the time you spend working on your top of funnel activities. Let's get started. So why did I build this? We know time is our ultimate resource constraint, and we have tremendous amounts of information, and it continues to increase every day as more AI outputs hit your social media feed, your email, and you're collecting information and adding to CRM and your CDP and all these other sources. So what we need is structured evaluation so that we spend our right time in the right places. When we don't have tools like this, we spend effort devising messages that go to the wrong people, which then ends up in lower response rates. Or we end up collecting a bunch of tools that we try to cobble together to help us save time, but over time it becomes difficult to manage. So let's talk about how this solution gives you full control of your ideal client profile. This is the key piece of this solution, in addition to its automation and low cost and flexibility. So what this does is it processes a list of contacts and it returns an enriched, scored, and prioritized list with some natural language recommendations. And in my test runs, I'm able to process this for under $2 per about 1,000 records using two separate APIs, which we'll get into in a moment. And this was also built with AI code-assisted tool like Claude Code in a fraction of the time it would have typically taken to build this. What this means is that revenue leaders now have an option to build their own tools instead of just amassing out-of-the-box tools. And within those custom tools, you can build your moat, things that are specific to your organization, how you think about the customers that you're trying to message, and manage it in a way that scales with your growth. So what are some key capabilities of this tool? It can search the web for each of the contacts to find the company that they belong to, and then begins inferring the firmographic data in a reliable way. This is similar to how an SDR would research an account. Then, based on your ideal client profiles, it scores it based on the factors that would make sense to score it. The type of company and what type of role it's fulfilling, and the role of the person at the company, and the size of the company, where it's located, things of that nature. And those are all adjustable. And of course, it has production grade reliability built in. So sometimes APIs fail, sometimes you hit token limits, sometimes you hit spending limits. Sometimes there's data that can't be parsed correctly, or lookup fails. And there's all types of fallbacks and retries and an overall circuit breaker to prevent the program from running on into perpetuity, eating up extra retries when it doesn't need to. This is super important when you're building agents, because now as cost constraints continue to increase with large language models, you really need to have a lot of care in how you are spending usage of your token budget. All right, so how does it work? So it starts with the input of the contact list, and this particular one is optimized for LinkedIn contacts. It's just using that format, but any format will do in terms of how you would structure your list of contacts or leads and the types of things you wanted to pass to the APIs. Now, as it runs through those one by one, it has a two-pass approach where the first is to get the firmographic information, and then the second is to score it. Now, the firmographic is informed through a web search that's parsed using serper.dev, and those are reliable results that you can parse well with a large language model. And just using an LLM alone is typically not as good at that type of job, so that's why that was introduced. And then, of course, after that information is gathered in the second pass, it's able to evaluate in an inference style logic and determine what the tier is and what the score should be. And then, of course, outputs it in a format that you can read directly or import to another system. So just a quick look at the fields, starting out with some basic contact fields, but after significant amounts of helpful information that was mentioned previously. And what's great here is the next action, which is a natural language response of how you might reach out, and the explainability as to why it was scored the way that it was. Okay, so let's take a look at a quick demo. So here's the machine where I have the program running, and we'll talk about possibilities of this architecture in the future and how it is cloud ready. So it's just a Node.js process, and I'm going to hand it this CSV file. And it's going to start up, and I'm just using 3 records here to show some different scoring tiers that I believe will come back. And the process, the performance is pretty good using lightly funded accounts. Serper.dev is actually still in free tier and still works just well. And OpenRouter for a Mistral LLM, which has $10 of budget, and we'll use just a fraction of that. Okay, so it has written those fields out to an output CSV. So let's go take a look at what we've got. Okay, so here are the results. The log is on the right. You can see the time that it took to process these. And I just scrolled to the right of the results that came back just to show some of the natural language commentary. So taking a look at the second row, and again, these were scored against my ICP. So we've got a director of marketing at a B2B professional services firm, likelihood of value, the type of services that I'm selling. You can see that it's speaking in my language. And, there's just some other commentary here, and no review flag here because there wasn't any issues performing the lookup. Now, if you look at the third row here, it's identified the person as a COO. It's a company that has maybe up to 500 employees. They are high seniority, obviously, as a COO, but was downgraded to tier 3 due to the location of where that company is, which means it's maybe in another country or on the West Coast or something like that. Okay, let's continue. So let's talk a little bit about the architecture. Again, the ideal client profile in this run was based on my organization, but it's configurable in many places in a markdown file to update several types of different things that would influence what your ICP means to you. in terms of location and industry and all those types of attributes. The model is interchangeable throughout the test runs. I've used several different models and exhausted certain free tiers, and ultimately, and also wrestled with outages of certain vendors, as this particular week has been under a lot of scrutiny for token budget, and there's been outages and many headlines about token subsidies ending and those types of things. So switch to Open Router, which I like because I have a single API to call and many models to pick from. And of course, it also has fallback features within there, which would give me some additional failover for more uptime if this was running in a significant production scenario. And it's just a Node.js application, and I build it that way if I want to deploy it to a function or something like that and run this in the cloud, maybe as a site people can go to and upload their file and get back scores, or maybe even as a service that accepts contacts in real time and integrates with your CRM or other tracking system. A little bit about the technology, Visual Studio Code and Claude Code. And this is just an example of a long run here in this terminal window in the middle. A lot to learn through building something like this, the power of AI-assisted coding, and breaking that down and using it for acceleration. It's extremely effective. And testing iterations are also extremely important, as you will find issues, but the ability to run those issues and describe them in natural language to something like CoWork that knows the context of what you're trying to build is incredibly efficient and can create additional prompts that you can send back to Claude Code to have it fix the coding issues, or refactor or make design changes, and it's incredibly effective. Keeping up with the markdown, describing what you want it to do and what the design of the program takes special care and some discipline, but it's well worth it because this was developed clearly in a fraction of the time that it normally would if I wrote it by hand. I talked a little bit about the financial operations of tokens, and maybe 6 months ago I could have run this through a frontier model and a free tier and not even thought about it. Not so anymore, and I think increasingly as architects we need to think about which models we're choosing and how it will scale in production and how to communicate budget to stakeholders before they make these decisions. So this will take some special care. There's even some organizations now forecasting how their AI spend will begin to eclipse employee payroll. So definitely interesting times. And then, of course, the inference of firmographic. So again, I'm suggesting to not leave firmographic lookup to the LLM directly, but actually take some additional steps before that. And I found, reviewing my actual data, that this scoring mechanism was quite effective using that approach. So, Visual Studio Code, Claude Code, Node with a couple JavaScript libraries, Open Router using the Mistral Small 2603 model, and Serper.dev's free tier was incredible at handling search results. I switched from Tavili, which worked quite well, but was going to cost over $40 for a 1,000 record run. And I got the same performance with Serper on the free tier and still haven't exhausted it yet. So again, as architects, FinOps will be near and dear to us as we continue with these models. Okay, so I thought discuss, why not tools like, maybe Apollo or Clay or a lot of these other lead and prospecting tools that you see out there. And those can be great for some and many use cases. But in this case, I had Claude Code at my disposal, and I thought, you know what? There's a lot of headlines about let's just go build it. Well, let's go see how true that is. And sure enough, I built exactly what I wanted and what I needed, something that's going to save me significant time. So when you buy tools, you can get some out-of-the-box database models and pre-built integrations and other types of features, and that's great. But now stakeholders will be saying, okay, now that we have coding agents, normally we would say, we can't build it, but now they can build it by next week. So some of the benefits are, again, I'm not using another organization's generic ICP. I have it extremely fine-tuned to exactly what I want. The cost, again, was just a couple bucks for my data set, whereas SaaS tools are going to cost you every month, no matter you use them or not. And then, of course, as an organization, every time you sign up with a vendor, you've got another contract to sign and logins and all that type of stuff. Where in this case, I can take this code, customize it, configure it, and deploy it to anybody's infrastructure like Azure or AWS, something like that, or even running, on somebody's machine if necessary. Okay, so that concludes the demo. Again, I'm Walt Raleigh, and I'm building these types of revenue influencing workflows using AI and other clever integrations with various SaaS tools and services. And so what that results in is what I call AI workflows, and I'd like to deliver those in 90 days. So you can get results and start calculating ROI. Whereas in years past, we were doing a lot of 9-month, 12-month, 18-month roadmaps, and we need a quicker turn in this economy. End-to-end delivery, again, I wrote all this code and configuration myself. So depending on workload, I can handle things end-to-end if necessary and appropriate. And I'm super flexible to access fractional, part-time, project-based, whatever is needed. I plug in wherever I need to. So more information on the site, and thank you for watching.